What's good, YouTube? It's your boy 2K the God. My man Sess, he's not available this evening, but I got my man Kashad back on for this segment as well. How you doing, man?
What's good, man? How y'all doing?
All right. Welcome to the Gods of Boxing Talk, everybody. This segment was actually not planned. You know, me and my man Kashad just on the phone, we talking and shit. You know, we get to talking about Sergey Kovalev and Andre Ward, you know, being the lineal champion if he beats Adonis Stevenson of the heavyweight division, etc., etc. And it just dawned on me that I forgot to talk about how Sergey Kovalev dropped John David Jackson. Now, James Ali Bashir, shout out to my man Bo, by the way. My man Bo over there in Truth and Facts About Boxing. James Ali Bashir, he actually sent Bo a text and basically told him that Sergey Kovalev dropped John David Jackson. Now, for those that don't know who James Ali Bashir is, he is the trainer for Oleksandr Usyk. But yeah, he sent my man Bo a text and said that shit was, it's confirmed. Now, leading up to this point, we've only known about the interview that Sergey Kovalev gave, a Russian interview where he's basically talking about how he's not impressed with American trainers. You know what I'm saying? Like, how basically, in a nutshell, I'm going to summarize it. I'm not going to go verbatim. But he's basically stating, hell, I do whatever the fuck I want. I don't really listen to these whack ass niggas, you know what I'm saying? I'm Sergey the Crusher Kovalev. Nigga, I teach myself. Yeah, you in my corner because I can't, you know what I'm saying, walk in the ring by myself. I gotta have a camp. That's the only reason why your bitch ass in my corner. But other than that, I train myself, nigga. That's basically what Sergey Kovalev said about American trainers. Now, the funny thing is,
I said the N word a few times too, man.
No, hey, Kashad, that's why I said that. Yo, that shit was planned, nigga. That shit wasn't my accident. He said, nigga, the whole time he was talking. Anyway, but this doesn't surprise me, dog, because I think our video where we did the breakdown, Kashad, you didn't do it, but it was me and Sess and somebody else. I had a guest for that video, but we broke down Sergey Kovalev, Jean Pascal 2. And in that video, we talked about, you know, Sergey Kovalev possibly being a racist or whatnot. And does John David Jackson really think that Sergey Kovalev is a racist? And, you know, around that time, I was already privy to the fact that John David Jackson has absolutely no bearing on how Sergey Kovalev trains or how he's progressed. I mean, I know a lot of people want to give John David Jackson credit, but I don't see it. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I don't see it is because Sergey Kovalev is fucking telling us. You know what I'm saying? He's like, and John David Jackson told us too. I believe it was an interview with 78. Shout out to 78 Sports. I believe it was that interview where John David Jackson said, yeah, Sergey Kovalev basically does what he wants to do in there. If the trainer is basically telling you, hey, my fighter does what he wants to do, I develop a strategy, but at the end of the day, he does what he wants to do, well then whatever the trainer has cooked up for that fighter is null and void because he's going to do whatever he wants, right? And then Sergey Kovalev even said this in the first press conference that he had with Andre Ward. They asked him a question and said, hey, you know, what's the strategy that you're going to have going into the ring with Andre Ward? You know, this is a guy that's undefeated. He's been undefeated since he was 12 years old. What do you plan on doing, you know, against this phenomenal fighter? And Sergey Kovalev's response was, I don't have a game plan. I treat every fight like it was a street fight, just with gloves on. So he just basically told you that whatever strategy that his trainer, John David Jackson, has for him, it doesn't mean shit. So, honestly, this move really don't mean shit. You know what I'm saying? As far as I'm concerned, John David Jackson hasn't been doing anything for a while now. He's just in the camp collecting the check, which it would be no longer doing. What you think about this, man?
Well, I agree with you. I won't say I thought. I still believe that John David Jackson has a good boxing mind.
Yes, he does.
Have a legit resume. He has been in there with legit champions.
Absolutely.
Now, when I heard John David Jackson try to justify the whole Sergey Kovalev, and I guess it was his nephew or maybe his son with the gorilla on the shirt saying it was Adonis Stevenson.
Yeah.
And then I think 78 was the first in the LDBC to release that video, I guess the audio of Sergey actually saying nigga and all that. And then John David Jackson actually like, it was the second time. This is when I kind of just was like, yeah, you just trying to get a check. When he tried to justify that interview, just like, like Russia man, they say nigga, and they don't mean it like they do over here.
Fuck out of here,
like,
man.
What the fuck? Like,
come on, bro.
It was real apparent that he just a go-to trainer that he has some knowledge, so if you want to listen to him, you can pick something up, but he will just go through the motions with you. And so I don't see him getting dropped as a surprise. That's what butthurt fighters do when they lose. They drop their trainers, and they don't internalize and look and see what they did was wrong, or what they did, or what they could have performed better. They blame the trainer like he was in there and he missed a punch or something. He missed a block. Like, but I mean, he sold himself to Sergey Kovalev all this time. Eventually, it was just going to end. And I got to reference that Kovalev interview I watched. I think, we were just talking about this in the conversation. Kovalev, they were saying it in Russia, he wasn't even that damn good in the gym. Like, he wasn't nobody. Like, he wasn't a standout there. So, I mean, it's not hard to fathom that he self-taught himself. For him to reach the level that he reached, politics play a lot into that, when you get a certain body behind you. But I think he's done a damn good job of training himself. But I think he a motherfucking fool if he say he done been with with John Jackson, and he ain't learned at least something.
Yep.
Like, he gonna go to another trainer or these quote unquote better trainers in Russia, and the next ass whooping he get, or when he fight Andre win his rematch and lose, I mean, what is he gonna say about Russian trainers?
Yep.
Is he gonna single out that one trainer, or is he gonna say, these Russian trainers, man, I don't listen to these motherfuckers. They ain't teaching me shit. They wasn't teaching me shit when I was here. That's why I went to America. But, now I said they trainers ain't shit, so now I'm back over here. So, it amounts to nothing.
Yep.
John David Jackson is nothing more than a coach. He'll be your figurehead trainer. He can train you, but he'll be your figurehead trainer as well.
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
I don't think Buddy McGirt would have let this get this far with Sergey Kovalev.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not trying to say, that John David Jackson doesn't, he can't be a good trainer. What I'm saying is that his fighter is not listening to him. And it's evident that his fighter isn't listening to him. And he was still there. He even admitted that his fighter doesn't listen to him. He's still there collecting a paycheck. Hey, I can't knock him. If he's going to be there getting money and not really working too hard, then hey, so be it. But if he was working really hard and he was trying to actually teach Sergey Kovalev something and Sergey still didn't listen to him, then I feel bad for him, man, because your hard work is falling on deaf ears. But like you said, he's got a great boxing mind. I mean, he fought Bernard Hopkins. He had two great fights with the great Jorge Castro, the hard-hitting Argentinian. I believe he was Argentinian. And the first fight was, fight of the year in 1994. I mean, he fought Reggie Johnson. He has a great boxing mind. He's been in the ring with great fighters when he was an actual fighter himself. But none of that matters if your fighter elects not to follow anything that you're teaching them. You see what I'm saying? So It is what it is. And once again, this information is through a text to my man Bo from James Ali Bashir, Oleksandr Usyk's trainer, that Sergey Kovalev will be dropping John David Jackson. Kashad, you got anything else to add on this, man?
I gotta add something that we was talking about in the conversation, man. This further proves the point that John David Jackson will be a trainer for hire. Somebody you can take knowledge from.
Yeah.
But you don't have to. Bernard Hopkins, he reaped what he sowed in that farewell fight and not fucking with Nazim Richardson.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because Nazim would have told him not to take the fight or whatever, but he took the cheap route. He went to that trainer for hire, got his ass knocked out the ring. Like, you can't tell me this further supports my idea that John David Jackson will train you and not really train you. You could just come there. He'll be that name that'll be there. But you can't tell me that Bernard Hopkins pushed himself in that training camp. I know he was older. I know, Father Time is undefeated, but I bet Bernard Hopkins, that was the most cakewalk training camp he'd been to in at least his last 10, 12 fights.
Hey, fam.
I bet he would.
Hey, fam, you're absolutely right because, again, John David Jackson tells us from his own mouth. In the interview, they asked him, they said, Bernard Hopkins, he's looking good. How do you feel about his progression? John David Jackson was like, he looks good for a 51-year-old. What the fuck does that mean? You know what I'm saying? What do you mean he's getting ready to get in the ring? I think Justin Jr. is 26? He's getting ready to get in the ring with a 26-year-old hard-ass puncher. I mean, a guy that has a fucking reputation of knocking niggas the fuck out in training. And you say he looks good for a 51-year-old? And that is evident for why we saw this nigga get knocked the fuck out the ring. That is evident for why we saw Bernard Hopkins' legs look like the nigga was standing in a fucking puddle of cement, dog. Like the nigga would throw his straight right hand, his signature punch. He'd throw the straight right hand and move laterally to his right. That's a signature punch or a signature little move. He tried to do it, but then he throw the right hand, but then the nigga would scoot to his right instead of move laterally. He would scoot and his back still up against the ropes. Like he had no fucking legs. And this is obviously what Nazim Richardson probably told him when he was like, yeah, I'm going to fight that young cat, Joe Smith Jr., dog. I'm going to get that nigga in the ring. Let me get that nigga right there. Nazim was probably like, hell nah. You ain't got no legs, nigga. I don't support this shit. So Bernard was like, nah, fuck that. Get the fuck out my camp. Give me somebody who will. And guess who he called? Trainer for hire. Mr. Yes Man. Mr. I'll do anything for money. John David Jackson. Get the fuck out of here, man. I'm done, man. You got anything else, man?
Nah, man. John David Jackson I'll be looking out for his career. Don't kill yourself. Sergey dropping you wasn't the biggest thing. Just find you a fighter and mold him. So don't turn into Joel Diaz either.
Oh man,
hear a bunch of interviews about how this motherfucker done broke your heart.
I love Joel too. You right, dog. You right. he let Tim Bradley just fade him, dog. Like, damn, nigga.
He broke his heart, bro. He broke his heart. I'm surprised that nigga ain't made a song about it.
I know. You know what I'm saying? Nigga, I'll only go till the end. That nigga should be on some Boys to Men shit. I can't sing everybody, so don't laugh at me. But that nigga should be on some Boys to Men shit, dog. Real talk. But I loved Joel Diaz, man. It's a travesty that his training abilities are not being used by other boxers, other elite fighters in the sport. And that's my advice.
I think he had a champion now. I think he had a champion.
But he's not an elite fighter. I'm talking about, like, if I was, if I was Kovalev, who won't be doing this, I will be looking at somebody like Joel Diaz. He's a fucking excellent trainer. You know what I'm saying?
He's from America, bro.
I know.
We should fuck all American trainers, bro. He got to take his ass to Russia now.
I know. He don't get a Russian trainer. He's talking about the Russian Olympic team trainer. So it is what it is, man. He feels at home with that shit. Fuck it. But a guy that is a head case like that, it don't matter who's in his corner. He's still going to do whatever the fuck he wants to do. And that's probably why Abel Sanchez got his ass out of his camp, because the nigga's a head case. So it is what it is. Yeah. But my advice to John David Jackson, dog, go to somebody who's going to embrace you, fam. Like, unless you really don't give a fuck about how your teaching falls on deaf ears and you just want that paycheck, hey, do whatever you want to do. But, I mean, if you still want to be somebody who's well respected by the fighters in the sport of boxing, then you need to go to somebody who's going to embrace your teaching, man, because you do have a great boxing mind. All right.
Well, you know what?
Go ahead.
Hey, before you end, man, since we're talking about these Eastern European, fighter trainer combinations, you say Sergey Kovalev, was kicked out of Sanchez's camp. I knew that as well, but he was kicked out because he was a head case, right?
Yeah.
Well, what if he was kicked out because Abel Sanchez didn't have time to deal with 2 head cases, but he dealt with the most lucrative one? Because if you think about it, the same shit that John David Jackson was saying about Kovalev, I've heard Sanchez say about Gennady Golovkin. Go back to the Willie Monroe fight where he was just sitting there eating them punches, and Gennady Golovkin, what he said was definitely counterproductive, or it was counter information to what Sanchez said. He was like, of course he, not sitting there and wanting to get hit, and who wants to do that? And Gennady was like, yeah, I just want him to hit me, big drama show, and you don't hear Gennady talk much. It's always Sanchez talking for him.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing with Kovalev. You didn't really hear him talk much unless Kathy Duber was right there hit to him. I mean, that's always John David Jackson.
That's a good point. And it's possible, he probably evaluated that sparring session that he talks about a lot where Sergey Kovalev got his ass served up by a Triple G and said, all right, you the weakest link, get the fuck out of here. It's possible. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, it just seems like it's been a number of fights, Willie the Worm Monroe.
Yeah.
Curtis Stevenson. They were at odds in that fight. Well, Curtis Stevens, they were at odds in that fight about the game plan, and Sanchez didn't like the way Gennady fought. He didn't like the way Gennady fought in the Uma fight. He didn't like the way Gennady fought in the Kell Brook fight, specifically, because he was saying he came out in one round being wild and you can't do that. And, when he came back to the round, Sanchez was definitely admonishing him for it, but he came right back out and did it again. Yeah. I think the most recent fight that they've been completely on terms with each other was the David Lemieux fight. And that's probably because David Lemieux had power that Gennady knew could hurt him, so he needed to listen to somebody. This wasn't something he could make a big drama show.
Yeah, that's a good-ass point, man. That's a good point. Good point made to end the show, man. That's something that we could definitely think about because, regardless of what the reasoning is, this is basically 2 trainers that have the same kind of story about Sergey Kovalev. So we'll be looking at a 3rd trainer. You know what I'm saying? So
just as long as he's from Russia, man.
Exactly. We'll see. All right, YouTube, we're going to go ahead and end the segment right here. Do what you do in the comment section would be real. Shout out to my man Sess, and I want to thank my man Kashad for coming on. This is Real Talk for real fans. 1.